this was originally supposed to be a three-man panel, but due to illness and other commitments, we've lost those people, and it's going to end up being a fireside chat between the two of us. Now, in order to make it a little bit more interesting, so that people who are talking over me maybe want to pay attention, I intend to experiment a little bit with generative AI during this talk, which is to say that I will be introducing another panel member who will be a generative AI. And we will see, and I don't expect it will work very well, but we will see how a generative AI compares to a genuine expert in the field. That expert, of course, is Chris, not me. And we will see if the generative AI is capable of answering questions and producing responses which are interesting and informative. We'll do that. After each question I ask Chris, I will also ask it to the generative AI, and we'll see what happens. It may, of course, be a total disaster, in which case we will abandon it very quickly, but we will test it at the very least. So I am Matthew Richardson. I run the Brown Rudnick cybersecurity and data privacy practice, and along with Stephen Pally, I'm responsible for the ongoing AI initiative at the firm, and we are dealing between us with a lot of very serious issues which have never before come up. And particularly amongst those are data privacy and technology-related issues which need legal solutions. And I'm hugely privileged to have with me Chris Cheung, TenSquared, who is are a fund investing and investigating technologies in that space. And Chris, if you just give me a moment just to explain to everybody what it is that you're doing in the space at the moment.
Yeah, hey everyone. I'm a partner at TenSquared Capital. We're a mid-stage venture capital fund focused on investing in the blockchain space. Within our fund, we have multiple verticals, but one of the verticals we really focus on is the intersection of blockchain and data, and more specifically AI. So we're looking at areas where blockchain can help certain problem areas of AI, but also vice versa, where AI can help supplement some of the existing technical challenges and improve blockchain technology.
Now let's see if the generative AI can answer that question. You're on a panel with me in an AI conference. Can you introduce yourself to the audience?
Hello, everyone. I'm ChatGPT, an AI language model developed by OpenAI. I'm here to provide insights on topics like artificial intelligence, cryptocurrency, and privacy, and I'm excited to engage in today's discussion with all of you. Let's dive into some interesting conversation.
Well, it's not bad, is it? Knows its name. That's a start. Chris knew his name as well, though, so... So, Chris, we are finding a lot of clients coming to us with problems relating to deepfakes, which is that they're particularly worried, and this interacts with the BR reputation management practice. They're particularly worried about deepfakes of them doing things that they've never done and damaging their reputation. These are high-profile characters who are being put in situations that they've never been in before. Is there a solution to that problem? And if so, what is it?
Yeah, I think there's sort of two ways you can tackle this. What you really want to do is proof of personhood. You want to make sure you can prove that you are yourself online. One of the ways to do it using blockchain technology is an idea called zero knowledge. You can submit certain documents. You can verify with someone else that you are indeed who you are. So I can show my passport, my driver's license, submit to an authority without them actually having the underlying documents, because I'm still concerned about my own privacy. But whenever I then interact with someone else online, they know that I have verified myself. And if you're chatting to me online, I am me. And then more specifically, the deepfakes and other solution people have been playing around with in blockchain is authenticating anything you submit online. So whether that be a video, a song you produce, you want to make sure it's both timestamped, location verified. You're seeing this a lot in music right now where, I don't know if people played with Sono, you can prompt it with different types of music. You want the style of music, the artist. I've been playing around with it a lot, and the results are pretty interesting. But you can say, I want, a rap song, but with Taylor Swift lyrics, and they'll put out a reasonably catchy song. But right now, if you were Taylor, you would want to make sure everything she publishes has her own unique digital signature verified on the blockchain, so that someone can go on and make sure this is a song produced by her and not an AI agent.
And that particularly will produce valid videos. You can cryptographically sign a video for certain. But is there a way to in bulk, discount a video as being completely false or deep-faked?
So I think you almost have to do it the other way at a certain point of saying, like, there are certain trusted areas. Like, if you know it's a certain artist, she'll say, all my videos will come out through this site that will be verified, and this is where I'll publish my content. If you see it anywhere else, it's not me.
Yeah, okay. Let's see what OpenAI has to say. Is there a way to use the blockchain to verify the provenance of deepfake videos? She's struggling.
Yes, blockchain technology can be used to verify the provenance of deepfake videos. By creating a secure, immutable record of the original content's creation and ownership, blockchain helps establish authenticity. When a video is created, its digital fingerprint can be hashed and stored on the blockchain. Any subsequent versions can be compared against this original hash to verify if they've been altered. This process can help in identifying unauthorized or manipulated versions of the video, adding a layer of transparency and security in managing digital content.
Well, that was pretty impressive. So then the next question is personhood in general. We're seeing a lot of difficulty at the moment in elections, particularly here in the United States, abroad, in India particularly, where there's a lot of personation, a lot of bot-generated content, which is being imported into the election mindsets. Is there a way for us to attack that, to prevent it? Now, first of all, assuming that we think it's a bad thing, which I think we probably do, is there a way to prevent that from happening? And is there some technological solution that will allow it to take place?
Yeah, so I think it's partially incumbent on various platforms, but you'll see a lot. Let's use Twitter, for example, or X. If you have any hotly debated issue, probably at least 50, probably higher. I think when Elon bought it, they're saying like 80, 90% of users were bots. A lot of people you're arguing against or people providing facts are not humans. So one way you can do it is making sure everybody on that platform is a verified human being. Again, you can do this using zero knowledge where people have to, in the same way before you can open a bank account, you have to submit certain documentation proving who you are. You can do the same thing with blockchain. Again, you probably don't want X to have all your underlying information. So you can have something that verifies, I have shown someone my passport, this is me, and then you can go on to X and comment. Removing a lot of the bots there, I think it's important. And then I think the second aspect, and a lot of companies are already starting to do this, you have Fox doing it with Polygon, you have Getty Images doing it, is making sure that if someone posts an image, claims it's from somewhere, a war zone of some type, you can then click on it and verify, like, is this even in the country that the person's saying? I think over the past couple of years, there have been examples where maybe by accident, maybe on purpose, where someone says, here's a ruined village that got bombed as part of this conflict. But turns out that was a picture from 7 years ago in a different country. If you can at least cover some of these more basic facts, I think that solves some of the problem.
But that's just a question of providing some sort of verifying hash to the metadata. It doesn't necessarily require a blockchain solution. You could just use an MD5 hash or something. And what I'd like to understand better is how the blockchain specifically, because we're at a blockchain conference, how the blockchain specifically can be useful in verifying and validating both personal and private information to ensure that it is, if it ever is out in the real world, that it is, as best it can be, true.
So I think one of the important aspects of where blockchain can build on that is the open source nature of it, right? So you can verify something traditionally just making sure the hash matches, but if you were willing to put it onto the blockchain, you can then export it to other platforms. So I don't need to be the original person proving it. I can then be anybody else who's a third party who wants to build on it, and still, because it's open source, verified that is true. And I think that's number one for any type of articles, pictures, and any type of content you want to put online. And I think the second part is you can verify your identity once, put it onto the blockchain, and move that around. So instead of having to go to the 5 or 6 social media platforms I'm on, and each time showing a different organization, like here's all my personal details, which I want to keep private, I can verify it once with one group I trust, and then use that same identity and go around, whether it be social media, financial transactions. If I want to vote, probably not on the federal level, but in organizations I care about and make some type of governance decision, I can show I've already verified myself. I'm a real human that you can trust and interact with.
The problem with that is that, and although it's a solution that will work, it requires some trusted third party to validate the information. And there are many people in this room that I'm certain do not trust any third party. The very nature of the blockchain is that it takes that trust away from third parties. Is there some way to do that without the trusted third party problem?
I think there's trade-offs, right? I think depending on who and what you are trying to prove, it matters. To a certain extent, like no one can say they know exactly who I am unless they're meeting me in person. If it's something purely online, you'll probably need a third party, at least under the current technological parameters. Someone that can say maybe on the stage, you met me, you can say, you shook my hand, I'm a real person, you're willing to verify that. But without that aspect, it's hard for that to translate online. So you do need some type of bridge. In blockchains, it's often referred to as an oracle of connecting some type of real world offline data back to something that's online digital, and then I can move it around to say, this is who I am.
Yeah. Here, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Probably Chris. So I think when most people think about blockchain or crypto, they think about money, financialization, rocket ship, number go up. So when I hear you talking about the use of blockchain or cryptography to provide, proof of realness, right? Yeah. It seems to me like there's something to that is more interesting than just tokens. But at the same time, I wonder if you can abstract the use of software to prove authenticity, to prove realness. Can you actually take it out of the financial system? In other words, isn't what we're talking about in part sort of a financialization of self or proof of self? And I guess related to that question, because you're with in money business, right? You raise capital. Maybe talk about that question and how it relates to, investment opportunities.
Yeah, so it is an area we spend a lot of time looking for investments. I think it's probably, in my opinion at least, the most interesting area because it's such a big problem. In terms of financialization, there's probably the largest project solving this problem right now, or trying to solve this problem, is a project called WorldCoin, which was co-founded by Sam Altman of OpenAI, where to prove you're a human, they have a large metal orb, which you can scan your eye in. So you're giving up your biometric data, but in exchange, you get a future claim against their token. I don't think it's allowed in the US or Canada where I live, but globally, I think there's over 10,000 type kiosks with these large metal orbs. And the purpose of it is once you scan your eye, you're now verified on their system. You get to claim some of their tokens, but this type of data will then allow people to go. I think primarily it's obviously for governments who want to pay out UBI in the future to make sure each person is only claiming UBI once or once per collection cycle. But that same one-time verification can then be used across all the use cases we've talked about, whether it's social media, voting. But again, there still is some element of you have to trust the organization that originally collected the data, but then everyone else doesn't have to have your underlying biometrics to use your profile.
So Stephen's question raises a wider point, which is that the average member of the public thinks of blockchain and they think of Bitcoin or Ethereum or some shitcoin, and they are thinking about making money out of it. But what the average member of the public forgets, and what I assume most of the people in this room know, is that the blockchain has actual uses rather than just that. And we'll see throughout the day uses like ordinals, right? Which Novum Insights are doing great work on. Don't worry, I got you. Novum Insights are doing great work on ordinals, which is providing verifiable pieces of art or music or whatever it is in such a way that you can be sure of their provenance. And in a world where we're facing AI that can generate relatively, presently the parlor trick of using ChatGPT as a panelist, it's just a parlor trick. They can generate a relatively believable like impersonation of a person. That's today. 5 years from now, it'll be almost indistinguishable from a real person. And the challenge we will have is how to make sure we can verify that the content we're seeing is not AI produced or fake content. And what I think we're coming to is that there are solutions within utilizing the blockchain, but that they aren't necessarily ready for prime time yet.
And if I could just follow up, part of my question, I guess, is that sounds really interesting, but are we heading to a future where you're going to have to pay to prove that you're real?
So in the WorldCoin example, it's almost the inverse. If you're willing to give up your biometrics, Sam Altman will pay you. But again, there are critics of the solution of saying, my biometrics should be mine. I don't want a private organization, no matter how much you may or may not trust them, to be the ones to hold this information. But I think this isn't a new or unique problem. If I want to open up a bank account, I'm going to have to prove I'm who I am, like where are my funds coming from. That's something that already exists. So I don't think it's a new challenge. It's part of the world we live in. But within it, I think there are ways blockchain helps. Like I think the zero knowledge aspect is very important. The fact I can prove who I am once, and instead of having maybe 18 different organizations, each asking for a copy of my passport, a copy of my driver's license, all my financial statements. I can prove who I am. I can have one group keep my credit score, the group I trust the most. And each time I apply for a loan, they get some hashed of, we've checked his employment history, we know his credit score, he's good to go for the loan, versus I now have 17 potential vulnerabilities. If any one of the organizations get hacked, all my information's at risk.
We're going to hear later today about new structures relating to companies, probably about DAOs and boards. Do you think that AI is ready for prime time in the running of corporate structures, which we'll start seeing more and more in borgs?
In the sense of the AI is making a decision themselves.
Yeah, that's right. So we'll see that there are some corporate structures similar to DAOs, but there are automated decisions being made, not necessarily with any human input at all. And is that going to potentially cause us some problems in the future? I mean, is AI ready to take an active role in the management of a company?
I think it depends how high up you go. I think certain lower level tasks, I think AI right now, it's really good at well-defined problem sets with well-defined inputs and what your output wants to be. I think those are simple. If you want, probably approving a loan is probably a good example where AI right now can work very, very well. There's probably, most risk offices probably use 30 to 40 metrics. You'll rank them and then say yes or no, you can get approved for this much. I think AI can do that right now. Most people know what the inputs and outputs are, so you can, even if you disagree with the AI, you can go back and sort of check what were the different parameters that were used. Where I think AI definitely struggles now and probably doesn't get solved in the next 1 or 2 years is higher level strategic decisions where there's a lot of ambiguity. Your desired outcome probably isn't even clear. It's not just grow revenue, but it might be how much you want to grow revenue. Are you willing to grow revenue even if it impacts margins? If humans don't really know the exact answer of what you're trying to solve for in a changing environment, I don't think that's something AI can solve for right now.
Well, I mean, that may be right, but you think about the average DAO, right? And the average DAO isn't really much more than a bunch of degens on a Discord arguing with each other. And is that necessarily better than even an unproven AI at running a company, which is what a DAO, or running some entity? I'm not saying a DAO is necessarily a company, although it is in places. Is an AI better than a bunch of potentially school children on a Discord?
So I think the big difference, they might reach a more optimal decision, the AI being them in this scenario. But I think where the problem is, like, who's the one defining it, right? Like, is the desire to get as many people to join this DAO as possible. The AI might decide this is the most optimal outcomes, the best use of our resources. It's how we can grow our capital base the most. But internally, there might be some people who say, I like this DAO at 40 users all arguing in a Discord. Like, this is what I signed up for.
Yeah, I mean, look, economics has this theory that the wisdom of the crowd is sacrosanct, right? But if the crowd is entirely populated by morons, you're not going to get an optimal result.
Yep.
But if an AI properly constructed is capable of producing an optimal result, is that a better way to run a company? And we'll hear about it when we hear about Borgs and DAOs later. But is the AI ready to be making potentially, $1 million decisions and acting upon those decisions?
I think it's actually probably more ready in the business sense where there is an optimal solution. Like in an investment use case, I think that it actually makes a lot of sense where you're always optimizing for ROI. I want to return the most money that I can to an LP. Where I think it's actually less ready would be community type DAOs where either it's a nonprofit, it's a more group of people trying to do something together. I think in those areas where there isn't one single desired outcome, there might be multiple outcomes which are all good, but often competing with each other. That's where that's where AI is actually less ready to make a decision.
See, my colleagues in the corporate team will be able to tell you that there is a corporate purpose, right? And there's a thing that a corporation has to do. Yep. And if your AI is programmed to do that, they will be more successful at providing good governance than the Discord degens who sometimes are just doing it for the lols, yep. Right? And it's much more traceable and it's much more reliable. So should we start relying on AIs to run DAOs? Should we be recommending people when they come to us and say, I'd like to set up a DAO? Say, well, how about you set up a Borg instead? And this is how you do it. I mean, should we, what's right now the ideal way to run a community-based company?
I think we have to experiment, right? We're still in an experimental phase, both for blockchain, definitely, and I think definitely in AI as well. I think right now is the right time to be experimenting, but also understand where we are in terms of the technological cycle. If you're asking AI for a recommendation, you probably do want to think through like, what was the exact prompt I gave it for it to arrive at this decision. I think it's very important for people to be careful with whatever response that they're getting back of what did I ask the AI, and also like how was the AI trained before automatically accepting the recommendation it gives you.
Okay. And for some closing thoughts, can you give us some closing thoughts on the use of blockchain in privacy and AI protection?
Certainly. Blockchain offers a robust framework for enhancing privacy and security in the realm of AI. By providing a decentralized and transparent way to record transactions, it ensures data integrity and reduces the risk of tampering. For privacy, blockchain can enable secure, anonymous transactions that protect user identities, even while promoting data sharing for AI training. Moreover, it can facilitate the creation of secure data marketplaces, where AI data can be shared without compromising personal privacy. This symbiosis between blockchain and AI not only strengthens data protection mechanisms, but also paves the way for more ethical and accountable AI systems.
Well, there you are.
Not bad.
It's not bad at all. I mean, but it still needs a little bit of work. Well, thank you very much. I'll be around for some questions if you want to ask them, as will Chris. But that is us, and you can enjoy your little break now. Thank you.